I'll let you know when it's live. Hold on. Okay, we're live.
We're live. Welcome to the May 11th, 2020 Communications Committee meeting. And I call this meeting to order. For item number 2, I'd like to get a roll call, Tracy, please.
Here.
Here.
Here. Glad we can read lips. Item number 3, the approval of the April 13th, 2020 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Roll call?
Councilor Gleising,
Yes.
Councilor Pucci,
Yes.
Councilor Johnson.
Yes. Item number 4, this is a big bucket. It's called Budget Communication Plan. I think as we all have realized, it's probably never been as important to be communicating to our constituents. This is going to be a tough year. So, having said that, I'd like to start that conversation off with extending, when we met with the joint school board communication committee, we came up with a plan. I think certain components of that have already been implemented. I know the in the know, thank you very much for helping out too, Larissa. We got that joint statement prepared for in the know for the 15th, which is this Friday in the Leader. What I would like to do is, there was I think a little difference in understanding between the school board and the intent on that. On the e-newsletter, I would actually like to just roll that out again to keep a consistent message. And we know with all messaging, you really can't repeat it too many times. So if there are no objections to it, I would just like to, unless if we can expand upon that in the unabbreviated version to roll out, that would still keep in the same theme. Is that possible, Larissa?
So you would like me to go back in and get the version that was pre my edits?
If that's possible, we can probably get it for you.
No, I think I can do that.
Okay, and I understand they may have to scroll for that because it won't fit in the section.
I will simply put in the first couple of paragraphs, or I'll put in whatever I think is the most important for somebody to read, and then I'll put a link to the complete article below.
Okay, okay. Now, is there any committee member that would like to tee that up on the counselor corner?
Well, if it's already written, I can just,
True. So the way you vision it is we have the counselor corner section, and then it just starts with the introduction of the in the know article. Is that correct?
like I think I'd say Consular Corner letter from the Joint Communications
Okay.
Committee.
Okay.
If that's comfortable, unless one of you has something that you would like to put into the Counselor Corner instead, and then I will simply put as a separate article, the joint letter.
Do you
That's
have
a good
a copy of
question,
the
and I-
final?
I'm sorry,
Sure.
John. Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Sorry, do you have, I saw the draft that April sent around, but I don't know that I have a copy of the final.
I don't think I sent, because I didn't send the final. I was editing it out to make it to length.
Okay. Well, I guess before I think, Ken, you were asking if we're okay with going forward. I probably am, but I think I'd like to see it.
Okay.
So I think that what I'm being asked to put forward though, John, is April's version. So you do have access to that.
Did you wind up making your changes, Betsy?
So yes. So
Okay.
April, so the one right before April had to go to a finance committee meeting last Thursday, she had completed it. And then word came out that it might be too late. And I know Hillary and Kristen kind of jumped in at that point. So I don't know how much it changed after April's version. I thought April's version would be a nice version for an electronic rollout, because it you know, since we wouldn't be as concerned about length, and it kind of included, there was a lot of people that did input on So I don't know if we can get back to April's version that was right before the finance committee and even before Hillary and Kristen did, because I know in particular, like we talked about leaving out a certain section and Kristen said, absolutely not. She didn't want to leave that section out. So, which was great. I'm glad they all piped in and they, really jumped right in there. So, yeah, I think April's version was good. I guess my only thought, John and Ken, is, obviously, since that was done, we've had the 0% modeling motion and approval come out. I just wonder if we want to speak to that just a little bit, because I think, maybe even just a paragraph, and I don't know, I'd kind of look to you guys and Larissa to say how would we maybe want to do that? But I think people need to understand, and I know some people do, but that it's something that we're looking at. It is not an official target. It's not the target that we said we're setting a 0% target. It's unusual. We haven't, as far as I know, I don't remember us saying, let's model something. This is not a usual budget thing that happens in a usual budget year. So
Right.
what do you think? What do the two of you think about some
That is
explanation?
referenced in that document,
The modeling?
the
Yeah,
modeling.
It's under the what has happened to date section. And
Right.
because it went out on Thursday, it was able to be referenced quickly in that section.
Okay.
So it is called out, and it's actually called out, I thought, in a very generic way, without leaning one way or the other, that it is a model to see how things will look. If you want, just revisit the document, and if you think we want to add into it, what we have till when, Larissa? The 13th?
Just because I like you guys could have until Thursday at noon.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah. So it might just be the modeling and say, this is not the target. This was not set as official target. It might just be a sentence or something. I don't
okay, yep.
know, something
Yeah,
like
so-
that, just to make it a little more clear. What do you think, John?
I'm reading those additions right now, and it covers it. I didn't remember seeking a consensus at the finance committee meeting, but I think I remember talking about procedurally how we might go about doing, having that come up or be brought forward. Yeah. So I guess I'm saying I think it's there.
Okay, well, take your time and read it when you get a minute. And like Larissa said, we've got till Thursday at noon to get it over.
Okay. Yeah. And since it's going to come out joint, I won't change it much, but I just, I'm hoping that one message that we can start communicating going forward is, this is a year where we're looking at a lot of things.
Yeah, I actually had something different that I wanted to go in the council corner until I read all these emails, and I thought I just want things to level out a little bit. So that's why I thought maybe we could do again, just for consistent messaging. Another item on that, on number 4, was the thanks for putting in that budget portal on the homepage. It's great. Have one small adjustment if possible. I can see you're all ears. It's and I didn't notice it. It was brought to my attention, and I went, oh yeah. Now it's simple. When you go in, the portal information fills the whole screen. And anybody that's been in the portal before knows that there's nothing below that forward-facing message.
Yeah, there is. If you scroll down, you've got the calendar and the meeting links.
That's true, but you know what? People aren't scrolling down because they were used to nothing being scrolled down. Does that make sense to you?
It does. I don't know where we're going with this though, Ken.
Well, I was wondering if there's a way that, I don't know. I mean, if I know we could say scroll down or shrink up the main thing enough so you can see there's something just below the bottom that will naturally have you scroll down. It's just a suggestion.
I can talk to Brian. I would be more inclined to having like copy that's put in that says more, like a
Yeah.
couple of things. One, if you're looking at it on your phone, which we think about half of the people are, the whole thing is going to be reformatted and you're going to have to scroll no matter what.
Okay,
But then he does not have the time to redesign that page. So
right. And
if-
I definitely didn't want that. I thought you're
So-
right. It was something little simple.
Yep, so if I could talk to him about like putting some copy that says, see below for calendar and meeting links or something like that, so that people can.
That would, that would be a help, yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
See below for calendar. Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
It's a landing page that on a PC makes it look like, okay, at this point, I need to go to one of these links, either through the menu or through the big buttons from usability standpoint. But I think that the calendar is quite helpful on that page. So if people just had a little bit of a notice, hey, scroll down for the calendar and.
and that will do it, right? If we reference scroll down to the calendar, then they can see whatever else is put, okay.
Ken, can I just add, I did get some feedback that for the budget portal, some of the documents that might be relevant for changes after the initial presentation don't seem to be there. Like the tiered reductions for the school side, and then some of the adjustments that Tom had made. I think it'd be helpful to add those out there.
Right, that's in the other section, the supporting documents section must be, right?
Well, yeah, I think it does need a general cleanup because, under meetings, some of it is PowerPoints and then some of it is, so far it's the video. So yeah, I think the content, is kind of important. And if you go to supplements, then, like we can't redesign the whole thing, but there's something from the 29th and then it goes down to 2008, to the archive.
Right,
So I do think the content definitely needs some cleaning up, because if you click on the 21st, then you've got the April 8th meeting. And then, so you had to go to two different places to see April 8th and April 29th, but then there's some other slides that have not gotten out there. So I think anything that we've, seen and had in a PowerPoint format should be easy to find. That would be a help, and under one button, maybe all under 2021. But
Larissa.
that's just a suggestion. However it is, it just should be easy to find, and I think it should be kind of in one place. So
It should be in the supporting document button.
Okay, so I think what we've done in the past is that we've tried to attach those to the meetings that accompany them. So you'll have like the meeting date itself, the agenda, and the agenda would have like maybe supporting documents to some extent, and then presentations, and then the video link. So let me talk to Brian. I have a meeting with him tomorrow morning and see how we can set that up. And I also, tomorrow morning's meeting is for me to be given the access and the training for how to make those updates, where Brian is working 20%, 50% time right now. These sort of changes, really, it would be helpful if we had another one of us that could be stepping in to help with that.
Yeah, if it's easier, with the community center committee, we had an additional files section where they just it was just a dumping ground for something like that would be sufficient. If you can get it tied to individual meetings, I think that's better.
Okay, all right, I'll talk to Brian tomorrow.
and that's the webmaster.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna just keep going, if you don't mind. Just again, under this bullet point, I know that we had all in spirit agreed upon doing some videos. I've sensed, because of timing and maybe some sensitivity, I've heard from the BOE that they would not like to participate at this time.
Is that for the budget glossary videos, Ken, or just for
Yes.
the joint video?
Both.
Oh,
I was actually told that you were told. No, I apologize for that. I should have said it. And I think what it is, I've watched the finance committee and the school board meeting, and very somber meetings. And I think we all left thinking and agreed and understood it at that time that, doing the, oh, nice dog, doing the What was that family? You know, we were gonna
Brady
actually,
Bunch.
yeah. That was a little too cutesy for the time period, that's all, for lack of a better term. I don't mean to be insensitive. We appreciate the suggestion. It sounded great at the time. Things have just moved forward to where just people are very, very serious about everything. So I have a feeling we're just gonna avoid that at this time.
Okay.
Do have some time, but at this time. Okay.
Avoid the budget book at all.
The videos, the collaborative videos, we're doing the budget terms, that's all.
So are we still gonna do the budget terms? I know they're not gonna participate, but
Well, we could have that discussion. It would be the three of us instead of the 8 of us. So we could still have that discussion.
well, I think the challenge was for all BOE and all town council. So when I put the email out to town council, I didn't put it out to BOE. I left it up to them. I did kind of say, you know, that I intimated that maybe we were going to strike a more somber tone
Right.
because, you know, it's, you know, just the way the times are. So, you know, I think the reason we said we were going to do them was, as Larissa said, she can put them out a little bit at a time and it actually provides information and draws people's attention to the budget.
Correct.
I
I
still
agree
think
with
that that's, I still think that that's valid.
Yep.
You know, I'm
We
not.
just
saying-
may have to do it from a council perspective. Right. Okay, well, we can rediscuss that because I'll do them. I think also to the understanding was the 11th. Today was, you know, like, and I think maybe that was because of editing. I think
That
the
was just-
time pressures on that too were influenced their withdrawing.
Well, the 11th was only though for the Peter and Sarah video. So they were scheduled to film that today at 12:30.
Right,
And I
And
knew
that
that had
makes
been pulled.
right.
Yeah, I think there's time on the budget book. It was definitions were gonna go out throughout the process overall. And Kate would be able to kind of edit them to, you know, we don't have to do the Brady Bunch thing or whatever, but you know, one here, one there. And they were, the way I took it was Larissa would post them on Facebook and, you know, it would kind of draw people's attention, you know, to the budget. But again, I'm not pushing one way or the other. That's my understanding.
No, and I'm still on board with it. I just wanted to let you know that there was a little change of plan because I think we were going to split it up a little bit. But we can still move forward with it and talk about the timing on it.
What do you think, John?
So my concern right now is that we might come off sounding a little tone deaf. We're getting a lot of feedback on both sides of the budget, and you know, looking at social media, it's starting to get personal. People, you know,
Yeah.
everybody has an opinion about whose job should be cut, and
Right.
I feel like if we can help mediate that or temper that a little bit, it would be a good use of our time. I'm not sure the glossary videos will do that, but maybe there's something else we can do. I don't know if there's a forum we can host where we can answer questions or try to get, we're already behind it, but try to get caught up with it, because I just hate to see our community fighting when there's already so much unknown and uncertain.
I did mention to Paul at one point about an AMA, you know, ask me anything. I don't know, you know, what exactly that could look like. We did get a lot of positive feedback, you know, before all this came to pass about the workshop on the 15th. So, I mean, to your point, John, I think that could we do something that would, you know, provide more information that would be of value to people at this point in the process?
Can we do a non-televised Zoom or a non-broadcast Zoom? So it would kind of be like one of our roundtables where people could speak informally and it's not being recorded.
Can we do that legally, Larissa?
I don't think so. I think that part of being digital is that you have to be publicly accessible. And so, yes, I think, could we argue, well, everyone has the link. If they want to join, they can. It's no different than everybody having the ability to walk into the town hall. I guess, John, where people are, I understand the value of that. and I'm a big fan of our roundtables and the neighborhood budget discussions specifically because they aren't televised and it allows for a much more organic conversation. But I think in the climate that we're in at the moment, I think that would be misinterpreted and could go very much awry.
Yeah, good
Any
point.
suggestions?
I think that I kind of like the idea of an opportunity for direct questions with kind of like what we did with the neighborhood budget meetings last year, where we would have, one or two counselors at a time or one or two BOE members, no more than 4 elected officials, and Tom and Sandy, and have it be it could be that sort of ask me anything sort of thing, but maybe you're not getting to speak. Maybe it's you're typing in your questions and there's going to be a moderator that's going to read those questions as they come forward and say, okay, we have a question, and they can maybe check a box to let us know, do you want us to tell your name or not tell your name? So maybe there's some comfort to be had there. And then those questions could be being asked, and it would be a set amount of time. We've got 2 hours. We're going to take questions in as they come, 1 question per person until we've exhausted the questions, because we are going to have some people that send us 30 questions. And I think it would be inappropriate to use that time for 1 person's questions.
And it might be counselors that are sending those questions as well.
Counselors would need to not.
I'm giving this some thought. I like that suggestion.
Yeah, how about the timing on that?
I think you could have, I think it actually would be wise in the same way that we had, well, I don't think we need 5 of them, but for the last couple of years, we've had 5 of those neighborhood budget meetings, and they've taken place in the week or 2 between first reading and second reading. And so I think that there's a lot of value in having maybe 2 of them set up. And if there's super high demand, maybe we add another one. Find out from the BOE if they want to be part of that, or if we want to separate it out. Does the BOE want to kind of do their own thing because they have really different questions for themselves right now? And do we want to separate that out? Is that their preference? I think that there's some paths forward with this, but we would need to jump on it quickly and get those dates out to the public.
So I'm sorry, the neighborhood meetings, were those just presentations, or did people also ask questions at those?
Oh no, they were mostly conversation. So They
Okay.
all started with a 5 to 10 minute same presentation each time, just as kind of like a, here's what the budget looks like. And then it was open, the floor was open, and anybody could ask a question and receive answers. It was dialogue.
Okay, again, timing wise, so do you think maybe we should do a fast follower from the workshop on the 20th?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question, Ken.
I was actually talking to the 2 committee members.
So you're saying after the 20th?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a strong preference for timing. I would see one in the next week would be fine, and then another one maybe 3 weeks down. Is it? Yeah, when we're nearing the end.
Well, I'm just wondering what's going to fall out of the 20th workshop. Okay.
But we might want to try to communicate before the 20th. And I'm still not quite sure how we would do the format, because in the public one, I guess anyone would attend, right? Any counselor could come, and any elected official could come, right?
We could put it on the e-newsletter this week if we can come up with a time frame and a date, correct, Larissa? We could add that.
Absolutely. But to Betsy's question, no, Betsy, we assigned them. So the dates were chosen and the locations, and then they were sent out to elected officials who shared with me their availability. And then they were assigned to be the answer of questions at that event. And other counselors or school board members could attend and sit in the forum, but the questions were being answered by the elected officials that were assigned that evening, by and large.
That's interesting.
So just so I understand, that would be, hypothetically, it'd be maybe a Sandy, a Tom, and maybe the finance chair from both sides. That would be logical to me. Maybe on the first one. No?
I think that whether or not the BOE wants to participate is probably an important question to ask.
Yep. I can send an email right out to, I'd send it to April. But I'd like to have some kind of time frame, not necessarily a hard fast date, but hey, we're thinking about doing an Ask Me Anything. This is what we're thinking. Would you participate? No?
I agree with that. I'm still thinking through is it one elected official, or are you trying to get representation between, if you have 2 or 3 meetings between those meetings? Like maybe 2 counselors a meeting, or if you only do 2, maybe do 3 counselors at one and 4 at the other. I think the focal point is probably going to be Sandy and Tom, with maybe some opinions shared by counselors beyond that. But I think most of the questions are going to be more specific than we'll be prepared to respond to.
Right. Yeah, I guess I mean, we're kind of limited. I mean, I just would want to think it through, because, you know, I don't think we're able to replace, under this circumstances, you know, what was accomplished with those neighborhood meetings, because you ask a question and sometimes you can ask a follow-up. And in this particular case, you know, you can't really ask follow-up questions because we're just having people type in their question and then it would be answered. I mean, it's definitely good, but, you know, I think, you know, I would maybe see it as all the counselors, and then have it pitch to, you know, to who volunteers to answer it, and have, you know, kind of have Paul kind of run it the way he does a regular meeting. I mean, I don't know, that would be my thought. You know, if someone wanted to answer one, they could pitch it, or if he said, you know, clearly a question comes in, it's for Tom, he could say, you know, I think Tom. And then if different counselors want to kind of offer an opinion on something, I think people are going to be not just looking for, you know, a very specific, you know, here's information the way we're doling it out to you. I think the interaction is helpful to people. That would be my thought.
Yeah, I'm struggling with, if we pitch it out to the counselors and the counselor answers the question, how do you stress that that's that individual counselor's opinion?
Well, I think we do that all the time in our regular meetings and workshops, whereas Tom will answer a specific question and then counselors offer an opinion on it. I think it'll go pretty well if we did that. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's a given, Ken. And that's why I was concerned about having just 1 or 2 counselors maybe be the voice, or appear to be the voice of the council.
Right.
I think the fact is we don't agree on all of this stuff, and it's
Right.
helpful to convey that sometimes.
Again, that's, you know, maybe too simplistically, but the 2 heads and the 2 chairs, because these are going to be finance questions, correct? They're going to be budget questions.
I don't know, maybe, I mean, I think there might be questions about people's jobs, and they might get a little more specific than just general, you know, money.
and I do think that it would be kind of difficult at this point to do it with the BOE. I mean, I think we certainly would want to reach out to them, but I think there would be value just in the council doing one ourselves with, I think as John laid out, like all the council, because, you know, we don't all speak for each other. They have kind of a different relationship on their side.
Okay.
And they also have, you know, another major issue going on, which is the teacher's contract, which is, you know, not in our bailiwick per se. Certainly we would potentially get questions about it because of the impact of the budget on it. But I would hesitate to have, you know, mix those 2 issues, because the budget and the contract is so utterly important on its own.
No, that's a good point. I wouldn't want to field a question on the contract. It's not my,
So it's beyond our pay grade.
that's right.
So I think what we're outlining would be all the counselors and Tom. And with the realization that having a back and forth kind of more conversational is going to be difficult under the current circumstances. But that, you know, Paul or someone he designates would kind of moderate. And we kick open the questions. If it was a factual question, Tom would answer it. And if there was a counselor who wanted to offer an opinion on it, or it was an opinion-based question, like why would you support 0%? Then counselors who want to speak to that could offer their opinions. That's at least what I'm kind of hearing as a framework.
What are you envisioning the workshop on the 20th looking like? I'm kind of starting to toy with the idea, you know, can we combine that? It's probably just going to be a relatively quick presentation. Can we have some interactive dialogue with the community as part of that session?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's,
What's the date on that? Is that the 20th?
I think it was the 20th.
That's a Wednesday. Well, again, this is just my opinion. I really think a lot of questions are going to drive the result of that workshop. That's on the 20th, which is a Wednesday. It's probably going to be front page of the Leader on a Friday. I would think then maybe we do Ask Me Anything on a Monday or a Tuesday following.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be the only one, right? I mean, we can do more than one. That's my thoughts.
well,
Because I do agree.
the 20th is, so is there both a workshop? Because the 20th is listed as a town council meeting. That's our regular meeting night. Is there both a workshop and a meeting that night?
Well, it's a finance committee workshop. Is it not?
No,
Well,
20th
it's
is a
town
regular
council.
meeting.
I don't know if it's on the calendar yet. That's what I believe was discussed at the last council meeting.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm racking my brain. It's not working.
yeah, mine's not either.
Do you remember, Larissa?
I'll check the calendar though.
Yeah, right now it's listed as a virtual town council meeting starting at 6.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything about a workshop.
Who do you need to bring that forward to you? Probably the chair.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the motion from our last meeting.
Right,
It may have been referenced in there.
right.
Oh, but it was a last minute ad, so there's no paper copy. It's not going to be in the online agenda.
Well, what does April's, it's called out in the no. What does April's note say about John? Do you have that in front of you?
So, yeah, it says Wednesday, May 20th, Town Council Budget Workshop. Larissa, if you are going to basically copy this joint communication for the e-newsletter, I think one point to possibly clarify, and I can send this to you in email if it's easier, but when it listed to the May 5th Town Council Finance Committee meeting, it says consensus was sought in order to determine the best path forward towards understanding what a 0% mill rate would look like for the overall FY21 budget. I don't know that that's the most accurate description. At that meeting, we had an action or a motion, and we unanimously agreed to recommend adopting the 2% budget at first read. I think that's an important detail to mention. And I'm just not sure that we really tried to reach consensus on, I feel like that's extra information that doesn't necessarily, it's kind of creating the impression that we're driving towards a 0% mill rate impact. And I don't think we were at that meeting.
I agree.
Well, we can't augment what was stated, right? We could put an additional statement in there. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I'm just saying it for when the e-newsletter goes out, we might want to,
Right.
yeah, just tweak that line.
Well, if you've got a suggestion, could you forward that through?
Yeah, I'll email it to you.
Okay. So what kind of dog is that? It's a pain in the butt like mine.
And when everyone works at home and you end up sometimes in terrible spots. So this is the spot where the dogs interfere. I apologize.
So can we get back to the Ask Me Anything?
Yeah,
I think we've agreed. I think we've agreed as a committee that this should be a town council item, decouple the BOE for good points made. And I think, you know, councilors that want to join can join. This is voluntary. It's, I think, just the timing.
Yeah, so you're suggesting the Monday or Tuesday after the 20th workshop.
That's just my suggestion, because again, this is going to hit the leader front page. There's a lot of people that have already read In the Know or know about In the Know, because you can see that in the emails coming. And after this Friday, I think that's going to really ramp up some questions that if we have it beforehand, those questions are going to be left unanswered.
It would probably hit the leader on the 29th though. The one that comes out on the 29th, in which case we could try to add a snippet somewheres in there that we're going to have a roundtable discussion. But that pushes you into early June.
yeah, I mean, it could be, we voted on Wednesday for the modeling and the first read. So it's entirely possible. It's not entirely possible. If you submit things, they want things a week early, but it could be that, you know, unless they went to press, then maybe it won't be in the paper this week as a regular article, but just in the know. But if we go all the way to May 11th, you know, I'm just wondering if we need something before the 20th so that we can hear questions and hear from people before we hear more on the 20th. I mean, I'm just wondering if you want to try to do something before the 20th, which is still like 9 days away, in order to, you know, kind of see how it goes. Maybe just keep it to an hour. And
Well, we'll have to keep it till the questions are done.
I would support that, Betsy. I think like next Monday, somewhere's around there, and then maybe the second one would be early June.
right.
And I think, Ken, to your point, it's not mandatory, but counselors that choose to attend can.
Yep. Anybody have the schedule on what's already planned for next Monday? Planning board, long range committee, anything like that?
In the calendar, there shouldn't be.
Monday, school board policy meeting. That's it.
So it'd be Monday, the 18th.
Yes, Monday.
Okay, and the format would be Zoom and moderator would be the chair. And how do we communicate to get questions out? We can put that in the e-newsletter announcing this on the 18th, right? And suggesting either submit through some link there and then also put it on the calendar
Right.
and take it from there.
Yeah, and I think they
That one.
could sign in as a, you know, like they do for public comment if they wanted to actually speak or ask their questions. I don't really see why we wouldn't allow that either.
Right, right.
And I mean, do you guys agree that, I mean, this is a little bit tentative based on, you know, asking the chair and the co-chair if they support this idea for Monday?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Your
because
town manager.
Otherwise, it might just be us.
we at least need the chair, if he's going to agree to be the moderator, kind of.
All right, I'll reach out to both of them after this meeting. Yes, Larissa?
And Tom.
And Tom.
And
right?
Tom.
We
yeah,
don't know what
absolutely.
his schedule looks like for Monday.
Right.
Okay, that sounds good.
May I add in,
Or we could do Wednesday, that would give us something on each Wednesday. The other, I mean, I think Paul had kind of talked about using the alternate Wednesdays as ways to communicate. So if we didn't want to do, if Monday didn't work for folks, our regular meetings are 6th and 20th, so there's something in between that. Unless we already missed it. I gotta look at May, sorry. 13th, oh no, so we already missed it. That would be
Right.
too soon, sorry. That's,
No, Monday's good. We'll see.
never
how this
mind,
goes.
never mind. I'm calendar challenged. I've always said that.
Yes, Larissa?
I feel somewhat obligated as your staff support to just toss out, if we announce this on, like, if it takes a couple of days to get it kind of pulled together, I just want us to be prepared for some pushback about the short turnaround time. That there will be, as much as clearly the intent and the effort is to be transparent and is to be engaging and to encourage people to ask their questions and to get their answers. I think we should just be prepared to hear some frustration from folks
Right.
that want to know why we're announcing this on a Friday for a Monday night meeting. And that just know that that's going to be a critique.
Good point. What about the 18th? That's still being able to hear from people before the 20th?
But that is we are
Well,
talking
we
about.
were talking about the 18th.
Oh, right. Yeah, so we would get it out on the 15th, right. Yeah.
I mean, you could go to the 25th.
25th is Memorial Day, I believe.
That's probably not going to work then.
Yeah, and I'm in the mountains, so
Well, I think it's a great point.
it is a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. So typically when you hear that, Larissa, what is the acceptable lead time where that diffuses that?
At least a week. People really, especially with something that's this sensitive, I want you to hear very clearly. I understand the intent of the exercise and the wish to get it prior to the budget workshop. But I think that less than a week for something that's supposed to be an opportunity for folks to engage and ask their questions, that sounds like a recipe for some gasoline on fire.
Well, I think we're back to John's suggestion then that we need to find out what the 20th looks like and incorporate, some type of Q&A in the 20th on the workshop, which we
Afterwards.
typically do. But yeah, I mean, I think we need to talk to the chair about that. What do you think, John?
I agree. I don't know what his vision was for that workshop, so
Right.
we need to connect there and see if maybe we can, hit two birds with one stone.
Right.
Or we could shoot for the 21st or something like that.
Right. Yeah, 20 or 21st. I think definitely maybe suggesting the idea that we are interested in some Q&A as a communications committee instead of just a workshop where we do most of the talking.
Right.
I think that makes the most sense right now. And then you'll have all the counselors there for more than likely anyways.
Right.
And then we just need to schedule one in June that, will be closer to the tail end of the budget process.
Right. Or midway through, because
Yeah.
we're going to be learning so much information as we go through.
Okay, so just so I've got this straight, so when I asked the chair, vice chair, Tom, we're thinking of the 20th, next Wednesday, after the scheduled workshop. We take a 10-minute break, we fire it back up. We can communicate that through the e-news. It's not a full week, but it's dovetailed directly to the budget work.
Right. I don't know that it has to be after. I think we were both wondering what Paul was thinking about that workshop. Was he thinking we were going to start at 5 and do a workshop and then a regular meeting? I think it's kind of not clear right now. I'm open to however we do it. I think, in my opinion, the difference was that we wanted to take at least 1 hour at some point and include some Q&A from audience members.
Okay, well, we could
I'd
just,
love to do 2, but with a meeting and maybe a regular workshop where we're going to have a presentation, and that's getting into a really long time. So I think,
and couldn't we just expand that agenda item then? Workshop plus Q&A?
well, right now it's only a meeting, so I guess that's why we have to find out what the plan was. There was discussion of a workshop, but there's no workshop posted. So
Right.
All right, we'll follow up with that in time for communication on the e-newsletter. Any other item under that big bucket called budget communication plan? Anybody has suggestions?
So the public hearing is what date?
First public hearing?
On the budget?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One,
That's
two,
in June.
it's the 3rd of June, right?
I am embarrassed to say that I'm not seeing it on the calendar proper, and I'm taking note, Ken, that that might be something we need to fix.
But is it part of the town council meeting though?
Yeah, it would be, and the meeting is on there, but I just want to be specific about that piece.
Yeah.
Nor embarrassingly, God, I'm really striking out here. It's also not on the budget portal calendar.
Well, we do have it on the regular calendar, 5 PM, town council meeting and public hearing, FY21 municipal budget. And then we have a town council meeting starting at 7.
And you're seeing that on our calendar, Betsy?
Well, I subscribe to the calendar, so I don't know. Eek.
'Cause I'm only seeing the 7 PM.
I subscribe to the calendar, so that might be, that could.
What's
That is,
that mean?
that is actually the school board one. That's why it's clear. So that they are having their public hearing at 5 PM on the 3rd.
I think that I have some very clear things that need to happen on the budget portal tomorrow. My apologies.
It's a weird year.
Every day is weird.
So so they normally meet on Thursday, but they're having their second reading on June 4th. So their public hearing is the same night as our meeting, but it's right before our meeting. And then I think that must be our public hearing too, on June 3rd. I think it has to be, right? It's 4 weeks after the 6th.
John, do you still have April's letter up? Because it would be listed in there.
I do. What am I looking for?
You're looking at
Coming up?
upcoming.
Okay, town council public hearing is June 3rd. School board second reading was the 4th. The town council second reading was the 17th. And the validation referendum was July 14th.
So did she post the public hearing for the school board?
School board public hearing was May 21st.
So they've posted something else for June 3rd too. I don't know why. Oh, I see what it is. They've posted our public hearing at 5 o'clock. They do that. They post our stuff and sometimes the times are wrong on their website. That's what that is. Got it. This has happened more than once. So they post our meetings on their website so people are aware of them who are looking at the school site, but sometimes the times aren't right.
Okay.
Okay.
So what do you think?
Maybe
of
our
that?
time is wrong and maybe their time is right. They just don't agree. So if you want to look into that, the times don't agree. All right, great, thanks.
So we're thinking of possible another Ask Me Anything after the public hearing? Is that what you were?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
maybe on the 10th, because I guess we're voting on the 17th. So
That'd be a full week after.
June 10th.
Okay, that's because that's a full week after.
Yeah, and I think that's after the last finance committee meeting, I believe. So that
Okay.
seems to make sense.
Okay.
June 9th.
All right. Anything else?
So from the joint, there was something out. We have, Larissa, you saved a second in the no,
Yep,
correct?
yep.
And
in
that
early-
one was for the school board about their referendum?
Yep.
Okay. So mostly our communication is going to be around meetings. So I wonder if, I really liked what Hillary did with the graphic. I wonder if we want to do some graphics around some of these important meeting dates once we talk to the chair and co-chair and get those set. And then, you know, we can all use them ourselves to put the graphics out. Larissa could pop them up sometimes. We could even consider whether or not, you know, we want to run a small ad, you know, with some of the graphics. But that would be another suggestion, I guess. I'm happy to make them. They're, you know, it's pretty easy once we get the date set.
I don't believe I saw what Hillary put together. Would you mind forwarding that to me?
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's over now. Yeah. Yeah. But I put it on my Facebook page. I think Larissa, you put it on yours, didn't you? I mean, on the town one.
Honestly, Betsy, I think I didn't.
Other people used it. It got out in the community. So
Okay.
I did see it up in different places.
it was
You know,
just,
maybe I saw the school boards post. I may have seen them post it.
yeah, it was just a one pager that just was eye catching.
Listed a couple meetings.
Yeah, three meetings, the ones we just had.
Okay.
So Ken, then you're going to also take forward to the chair and the co-chair the
June 11th, June 10th,
another AMA/roundtable June 10th for
Yeah.
June 10th. Okay.
just get the feedback, find out the format. Actually, have the chair maybe send us out a note about the format and things, because you're right, we're not sure what it is. I only knew about the date, so.
Well, that's the 20th because that's the combination meeting. So that we need information on how that will work. But I
Right.
think we're proposing an AMA
Standalone.
roundtable on June 10th. So I guess see if they're on board with that.
Yeah.
And that would be the one where we, you know, you're not required to attend, voluntary and et cetera.
Okay.
But if
We'll
we
do
could
that.
nail that down, then we could start making some graphics that we put out. And if we have time, maybe somebody can make a video, you know, here's the important meeting dates and et cetera.
All right, let's go to item 5. And we'll reach out, I think, amongst the committee members on the videos, on the terms. I want to go back and review them. We'll figure something out. Number 5, update on the new website, progress report, challenge testing plan. Larissa?
Yep. So don't shoot the messenger.
We would never do that.
As part of the new website rollout has been sacrificed to the prioritization of other items that need to happen. So that has been indefinitely postponed as our web designer is furloughed to 50% time.
And how is the 50% time used when they are working?
Yep. So what we asked was for each department to work with their staff to prioritize the things that needed to happen in the next 3 months. And so this kind of blends into the conversation regarding the webmaster because it's all the same person. So we do share that person, and start again. The IT department is made up of entirely town employees for whom the town side of the budget is reimbursed by the school side of the budget for the majority of the staff. So there are 4, I believe, staff people that their entire salary and benefits is reimbursed from the school to the town. And then there are 5 staff members that 50% of the cost of that staff member is reimbursed from the school to the town. Everyone with me so far? So the webmaster is one of those folks that is shared between town and school together. And right now, his priority is he is working on building, and I do not speak technology. So if I use words that don't make sense into the sentence, please substitute ones that do. He is building some form of database system that is going to be used to get kids registered for classes, because that seemed like a priority to be to be working through right now. And then there is something else on the school side as far as something that he is building that is being used to organize students in some manner. And they used words. They meant things.
Big words.
That was the priority. And so his time, he's got a couple of hours here and there in the week that he's doing things like meeting with me to teach me how to make copy edits on the website, or that he's meeting with me to change how we've got things laid out, get that buttoned up for the budget portal. But his time is really being very much focused right now on the things that the school needs to get done in the next 2 months. So that's how we have prioritized his time. And so the agreement was that meant that the new website rollout would need to be pushed back because he needs to focus his time there.
And how is that time accounted for? So right now, I would say the town would have 25%. He's on 50%. The town funds 50%. The school funds 50%. So the town would have 25% of his time. I understand that you're saying that's not what's been done, but over time, how do we get the 50%? Because I guess, I'm definitely frustrated because I find things incorrect on the website. So, and things that aren't happening and aren't changing. And the couple of things that we asked for, like to be able to do maybe some subscription services, which would be related to how the website runs, and then have things sort when you do a search, so I'm not seeing how the town even before was getting the 50%. And now if we're delaying the website, I'm bringing this up because I think this is definitely a funding issue. The town desperately needs to get the website in way better shape than it is. And I understand, that these are very important priorities. I know that when I've talked to other people from the school, they feel like they don't get their website updated as frequently as they want. I don't want to put words in their mind, but they're also frustrated with how things get out or don't get out. So I'm not being critical at all. I just think we have a big problem here related to the website, which is one of the things that I had brought up. Is this something that we need to start funding an outside contractor? This may not be the year to do it, but, I don't know. I mean, it's past the year to do it in my mind, because our website is subpar. And I have no problem saying that, because that's not a hit on anybody. Clearly, people agreed with this 2 years ago when we decided to create a new website. And now we're 2 years into it. And we still don't have a new website. So I am concerned to hear that all of his furloughed time is being used up by the school. And I'm wondering how even prior to that we were truly, it's one thing to divide the money. How were the hours being divided?
It's a great question. So we have a ticket system. And so anytime that anyone needs to have anything from IT, we go into our intranet, and we submit a service ticket. And in that service ticket, we identify, are we a school or a town function? And then we identify, are we looking to do something with the website? Are we looking, is it a software issue, a hardware issue? And it gets separated out. And the IT department tracks the number of tickets that come from the school side and the number of tickets that come from the town side. And that is how that sharing of cost is distributed. So as far as the webmaster is concerned, so yeah, for the next couple of months, the majority of his 20 hours is going to be spent serving the school. But in the last couple of months, the majority of his time has been spent redesigning and bringing a website to the point where we were getting ready to test it with focus groups. So it's a question of across the year. So right now he's got to get that database stuff built up for the school. And so that's going to be his priority. When that is done, he'll shift his focus back to the town side issues that need to be taking place. And the school will have to kind of wait in the background.
So those sound like projects, not tickets. I mean, I'm IT, so we work projects, we work tickets. So those are tickets that they've opened for the database work, and he's marking hours against those tickets. And so if it ended up that he needed to prioritize and put across the year, 70% of the tickets were school and 30% were town, does that mean that we would get reimbursed 70% instead of 50%? Or is the funding just kind of separate from the number of tickets and the amount of time?
I think that I would need to speak to our IT director, Betsy, in order to give you a really accurate answer to that question. My understanding, however, is that it is not like, it's not down to the percentage. So it's not changed because we're also looking retroactively, right? So we've budgeted for a year looking forward, but tickets are coming in that year. If we get to the end of the year and it turns out that that IT staff member has been 60% of their time has been used for the school, well, oh well, because we budgeted the year ahead of time and we said it was going to be a 50-50 split. So I think we're using historical data to inform forward-facing decisions, and that at the end of the day, what we have kind of fall down on is it is all the same money that's coming forward, and that we feel that there is enough cost savings to the town as an entire body by sharing an IT department that it works out in the wash. And I
Yeah,
can
it's-
hear the
Right,
frustration.
yeah, it's the same money, but maybe it's not the right money spent in the right way. If the town can't have a website that is a good functional website that people can find information on. Just number one frustration for people when I'm talking to them, they can't find information. They can't, the information isn't there. It's not posted in a timely manner. It's hard to find. However we've been doing it, and I guess I would wonder, since we've been doing this, has it always been 50%? Is that just a ballpark? So I think, I definitely want to understand this better because, the database systems, that would be beyond what a traditional webmaster would do. So that's why I'm trying to understand, maybe we're missing an entire function. Maybe there's an entire person that we don't have who would be doing things like building database out. So I guess the term webmaster, indicates to me that it would be someone who would be managing and maintaining the websites and making them quite robust for both the school and the town. It sounds like, which is what I suspected, that there's a lot of other things that the webmaster is doing, which might mean that we're not funding the correct position. So that's where I'm trying to find out, what else is involved with what the webmaster does for the school and the town, so we can figure out how to get a good website.
I think all your points have been valid. But I think we are where we are. We could actually, just make it a charge to actually, once we get through what we're going through, is to really sit down and find that. You're right, we could do a process flow, find out how it really works between tickets and mini developments, and find out if there's a gap somewhere, or do we need more resources? Because everybody, it's not that you're beating a dead horse. We all do understand that our website is less than perfect. And I actually had high hopes that we were into some improvements until where we are right now with COVID. Because I understand
Well, we're
the
in budget
schools,
season.
I'm not sure what the function is. Go ahead.
We're in budget season right now. That's why it's so important right now to figure this out. And we do have special circumstance with COVID, but it's very important to figure out, because when I've asked about it when elected, it was never funded as a priority. So I'm on a finance committee, and I need to understand it so I can understand what we are or not funding.
Do you have a
Yeah,
takeaway with that?
I don't know what the right. I'll just comment, I guess, on what Betsy's saying. There's a number of ways that you can redesign the website, right? And a couple of years ago, we picked a path and we've been going down that path. And I think we're not there yet, but you could also form a committee at a council level to try to shepherd that process, right? It wouldn't just be a resource, maybe a single resource. Maybe you'd enlist people from the public to help with that process. My sense is that we're too far down the path that we picked 2 years ago to try to do that right now. But that could change, right? So if it doesn't look like we're going to get there with the original path, and there's a desire from the council, we could go down that path, and that might involve bringing in a consultant or something like that to shepherd it along. But there's a cost associated with doing that. I have no idea what that cost would be right now.
Yeah,
I guess
I think,
my
you know, we're in
inclination-
budget season.
I think we crashed the system there.
I'm not sure if
Larissa,
it's
were you
me.
talking?
You guys are all crazy.
Yeah.
Larissa, do you have a point?
I do. I understand the frustration. I also had fully intended, if you'll remember, we were going to have this rolled out in the next couple of weeks. We were going to have a new site ready to go for the public. That site is mostly built. It's there. The piece that we're waiting on is doing that focus group testing, and at the staff level, at the elected official level, at the resident level, and then taking that feedback, giving it to the webmaster to make the changes that we hear about and getting that up and running. So I can go ahead and push forward with the focus groups, but we're not going to be able to incorporate that work in until he has finished the work that he has had prioritized for him. And so I guess I am not disputing in any way that there are serious improvements to be made. I guess what I want everyone to remember is that we have made most of those improvements in this new design. It's waiting, it's 95% there. We just don't have the capacity right now to bring it forward the rest of the way. Part of our focus group also was I have a list of names, 1 or 2 people from each department that were going to be part of this focus group process, so that we're also making sure that the website is meeting the needs of staff. They're one of our biggest consumers of the website. And the reality is that some of those people, for instance, I'll use community services. I had 2 community services members that were office staff that use the website both as posters and as consumers of the information that were going to be part of those focus groups. Well, they are now learning how to drive lawnmowers. I don't have them in the office in order to conduct that focus group testing with, because we've prioritized maintenance of public spaces over the work that they would have been doing in the office. And so it's
Right.
everyone is being distributed very differently right now.
Yeah, well, I think, one of the big problems that we have is that, you just said someone is making those priorities. It's clearly not the elected officials, because, from our standpoint and the money that we allocate, getting a new website and some other things were a high priority. So we do have a technology committee that we don't staff anymore. We don't use. I'm thinking that some of these priorities kind of need some oversight beyond the staff in terms of where the priorities lie. And again, this is no criticism. Perhaps we're underfunding this function in general. This is why this is so important to figure out. To me, the answer isn't we can't do it. The answer might be we can't do it for what we're spending. And that's why it's so important to understand who's using what resources and what we're spending. I think I said in our very first meeting, communication, good communication costs money. People need to be prepared to spend money for good communication. I see we have a bad internet connection. It's more than frustration though, because, when we had our first meeting, we thought we'd be rolling out in March, and then we had delayed, because of different factors, and it started 2 years ago. So I think there was probably, not enough focus on it and not a project manager driving it. So kudos to you, Larissa, in particular, kind of recognizing that and saying, boy, it's really got to have some focus and somebody kind of come up with a task list and putting things. But, I'm still at the point where, I would be willing to get a quote from someone, an outside consultant. I think I brought this up 2 months ago, probably. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look to see where we're at with it and, what else it needs. Maybe to put together at least a consumer or end user group. I think, it's just a very high priority. And we are where we are with COVID. I get it. I totally get it. But, this is so long overdue. It's going to cause an impact now because, this is something that should have been done previous to now.
Larissa, let me ask you, is there any way, I definitely understand the delay, but is there any way that maybe not a focus group, but maybe the communication committee could have the opportunity to test the new site? I think that then could feed back to
Absolutely.
us with, hey, we're liking what we're seeing, it's worth the wait, or we're not liking what we're seeing and maybe we need to look at a different path. Because that's the way I look at things, that let me see what it is any way to do that. I mean, I understand we wanted to bring in departments and citizens and whatnot, that might not be feasible. We're flexible, don't have to be monitored, just give us access to it, we'll get on it, parse through it, maneuver through it, give you some feedback. Any way to do that?
Of course there is. And I'm happy to, providing that we have a shared understanding that feedback that is received from you is shelved until we have the staff time to incorporate it into the new design. And what I'm concerned about is that there will be additional frustration at having seen it and having made suggestions and then it's still being stalled. That's my concern.
Well, keep in mind, 3 of us are in IT. We understand rollout of new software development. It is always bumpy, but we can see beyond that. I'm looking at functionality and flow. And again, I think that would give, do you agree, Betsy? I think if we could see it, then
I totally agree.
the
because-
urgency to do something different
Yeah.
would dissipate. That's what I'm thinking.
Right. I totally agree with it. I'm not even sure it's suggestions. I mean, I would certainly keep my suggestions, but the way you're laying it out, Ken, if it's just not happening, then we need to look at, a different path. I think John laid that out very well. Maybe it is a different path. We don't know. So I think that would be of help and, to kind of see, yeah, this looks promising. I think what would also help would be to have a list of projects, and maybe a copy of the tickets that the webmasters worked on for the last year. I know with the finance committee, I've requested that we look at IT across the board. So I think having a list of projects and, you can't get blood out of a stone. So, if somebody's work is, 90% full, and they only have 10% of time to really work on the website, I mean, it totally makes sense why we don't have it. So it's not a criticism of anybody. It's a question of how are we prioritizing and what are we funding and what resources we have. So, I would really like to see the list of projects over the past year that the webmaster has done and, kind of a list of the tickets. So we could understand what that looks like. And, if it looks like it's way more work than a 50% person, I think we have to take that into account.
I am,
So I
Yeah,
I'm
I
willing
don't
to
see that
promise
as a
that.
function of this committee, but I understand the question. I'm sorry, Larissa's frozen. Is she frozen, everybody, or
I think
just
it
to
might be
me?
Larissa. Yeah, everyone's kind of frozen. I think it might be Larissa's connection since she's the host. I'm not sure, but
I can see her, but she pauses when we start talking. Well, actually, I can't see her anymore. She just walked out.
right.
I
she
was
walked
checking to
away,
make
but I'm
sure my children
why.
were not
There she's
streaming
back.
something.
Ah,
Okay. All right, can you hear me at least now that I've turned off my video?
Yeah,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Okay, so I've turned off my video to try to save bandwidth or whatever might be happening. I don't know the words to use there, but I've also checked with my children. They don't have any internet access going on right now. I guess I would caution that this seems outside of the scope of the communications committee to be looking at the
Right.
workflow of a staff member. That is making me feel uncomfortable. And I certainly understand the reason why. And it may be possible that that might be the purview of the finance committee, but even that seems to be, I feel uncomfortable. My immediate response to hearing that is, of course, we are wanting to provide people with the information that they want, but wanting to make sure that we are respecting that the administration of staff is not the purview of council. The administration of staff is the purview of management, and the setting of policy is the purview of council. So I just wanted to be careful with that. But to a larger question, our webmaster position shifted in the fall. We had a shift of staff, and so we also had a shift of IT directors a year ago. And so this is a department that has had some vacancies that have been fairly lengthy. And so, workflow has been impacted because of that. And we also have had just some changes of direction. And so most of the work that has been done on the new website has been done in the last few months. I will certainly get a link for you guys to help yourselves to wandering around in that. That's certainly something we can have happen. And then if we could have a conversation about what we do with that information, that would be helpful later, perhaps.
Right. Yeah, Larissa, thanks for that. I agree with you. It's not in the purview of the committee. There are legitimate questions, but I would expect Councilor Gleisting can address that, directly through the staff. So I'd like to move on. I don't think we need item number 6, the role of the webmaster. Would you agree, Councilor Gleisting? I think that might be
Yep.
bigger picture questions that maybe a separate committee or finance or somebody may enroll in as a tag along in the previous discussion.
no,
Okay,
I was just agreeing because I think we basically answered my questions about it, which is how the, how the split was working. So, to Larissa's point, I think the focus and emphasis on the website is new with this particular council. I don't know that it existed with previous councils. So, do I think that would have been good if the town itself had taken the initiative to have a better website? I certainly do. But I don't see that it was I don't see that previous councils prioritized it. I think it's now been prioritized, as a fairly high priority by this council. And, my main goal is, are we realistic in what we've prioritized from a funding standpoint? And everything that we've been told till now, up till today, is that we were realistic in what we've targeted. But now we have, because of the COVID and the lack of resources, we're not able to deliver what we thought was going to still be realistic. And so, through the finance committee, I have requested to look at these things. So, this isn't a criticism of the past, other than that perhaps the town recognizing that their website was pretty subpar, might have been good, but it hasn't been a council direction, I would say, until recently.
Okay, moving on, if we may. Number 7 was the Be Informed campaign. I know we were gonna have a workshop on this. My bad, I fully apologize. Time just wasn't there. But let's have a discussion on it. If you remember, we had certain legs that we thought we could do to roll out a Be Informed campaign, dovetailing it into the website. So now we know there's a delay on the website, and that's a TBD. So that's probably a delay in the rollout. And again, because of what's going on and the time that's being used, maybe that's a good thing. But I'll at least give you an update of something that I have done. I've talked to a local designer, Spiller, who can help us soup the nuts, do a 4x6 postcard and deliver it to every home in the town of Scarborough with whatever messaging we want. Like I said, we could do a rough design. They could take it and finish it. Their fee, I think, was $60 an hour. They said it's typically about a 2-hour job. They do a lot of real estate brokers and things like that, for about 37 cents per delivery, which I thought was
I think,
doable.
I think that
37
there are
cents.
definitely cheaper ways to do it. Yeah. I think there's cheaper ways to do it. That sounds like it's first class mail instead of every door. But, and then there's online designers that do every door.
No,
So
that's,
I can definitely come back with a price for you.
okay, good, because I think the price, I don't have it, she actually sent it to my, my home email, because I've been dealing with her on my home email. I think the total cost, including the design and through the door delivery, was about $2,200.
Oh,
Anyway,
37 cents
that's
times
just an update on.
about 8,000. Okay.
Well, Larissa, do you happen to have that at your fingertips? How many homes do we have? Should by
I
tax,
agree
this
with
should be by
Betsy.
tax
I
bill,
would
right?
have put it in the order of more like, I think it'd be more like 8,500 homes. Did you hear me?
Okay,
Yeah,
maybe
that's
their counts were
3,001.
off.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. About 8,500 homes, Betsy, did you hear that?
Got it.
Is everybody frozen? Tracy, do something. I don't know if everybody's frozen or it's just Betsy and Larissa. No, okay.
So
Okay, to
Ken, I
continue
can
the
try, so
conversation.
my computer is telling me. Ken? My
Yes.
computer is telling me that my internet connection is unstable. I'm going to make you the host and see if that helps unfreeze everybody else.
Well, my computer has been telling me I'm unstable. Okay. And I am unstable.
So I've just
Well,
made you the
nobody's-
host.
I don't
So
know.
now
but
you're in
John's
charge.
pretty stoic all around. Okay. Yeah, I think we look like we've smoothed out a little bit. So anyway, that was that little tidbit. And if you remember, we were going to try to harness some of the community center survey methods. But a lot of that is person-to-person contact, papers that, John, can you remember what you had? I know there were papers at like Martin's Point. There was something on the e-newsletter. There was something on Facebook.
Yeah, you hit it. I mean, a lot of it was social media through the e-newsletter. Different groups in town, we reached out to them and asked them to share it, or put it on their website or Facebook page,
Right.
or some of it was flyers as well, in Town Hall and the library and Piper Shores and I think SMA, a few other places. We just had flyers with a URL.
Right. So in light of where we are and because of the delay on the website, and again, we were gonna use that as our end goal and to use the Be Informed to drive to the new website. Where do you think we should put that endeavor? Should we table it and maybe focus on a design of the materials, which is independent of disseminating the information? What are your thoughts? Betsy?
I guess I'm wondering if
Well,
it's
I
the
think-
right timing anymore. So we all started there.
Sorry,
but,
John, what?
So I guess where I'm at is I'm not sure that, I think the timing will be right again when we get back to the website and probably a little later on in the year, but right now it's probably not the most important thing to be putting in front of the public.
Okay,
I think.
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah, I was
upping
thinking
our
Yeah, I
numbers
mean,
is
I-
important.
doing the hard work.
I think it would be important to perhaps, I mean, let's see, today is the 11th. I don't know if we could, I mean, and I volunteered to do, maybe talk to the chair to have a council discussion about this on the 20th. The money was very specifically set aside for a survey. Can you guys hear me? It says I'm kind of freezing.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep, we can hear you.
So I would, really like to hear from my fellow counselors, where they are on this, because, I think we had sort of told them the idea that we were going to fold in the Be Informed campaign, using the money along with the new website, along with an online survey,
Right.
and that, we were going to kind of use the money for a little more than just a survey.
Correct.
And so if we're not going to do the survey at all, I would like to hear from them. I mean, to me, perhaps we should rededicate the 10,000 to a consultant to finish the website. I don't know. I'm not saying that, but I'd like to hear, frame the discussion and maybe even frame a motion for what we want to do with that $10,000. We know that it's going to go into the fund balance, and maybe that's what everybody wants to do. So I don't know what you guys think about that. If you want to take it to full council or just make a unilateral decision. I'm just asking the question.
I'm fine bringing it to full council, but I mean, where I'm at is we've got, 70, 80 staff furloughed. And to me, that 10 grand is not essential money to be spending on a survey right now. It should be gone already. It may be gone already, but if it requires council action to make it gone, I think then we should make it gone. I don't think it's something we should be spending money on right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess I feel like we were given that charge to spend that money on a survey. So I'm just hesitant to just not do anything and just say, oh yeah, we just decided it wasn't right. So I know so I'm not saying council has to act on it, but I also don't want to just say that, we just decided, well, we're not going to use it. I mean, I think if we could lay out some potential options for it, I think Tom said we could roll it forward. So that would be one question. Maybe we could, quickly get from Tom, how far forward could we roll it if we decided to do that? So, and maybe the 20th isn't the best day to talk about it with so much going on. It might be, we get the answer to if we can roll it forward, and then we take it forward to the town council later and ask, what they want to do with it. I just don't want to just let it lapse, since it was our charge to make it happen.
Yeah, I just want to do a follow-up, Larissa, before your answers. I just don't want, nobody said we had scrapped the survey. Again, if you remember what we had originally planned for the Be Informed, It was to drive folks to the web and ultimately have a reusable survey that we were still deciding how that to be done. Now, whether that's an appropriate or the best way to use that money right now, it's still, that's the question right now. But it wasn't that we were scrapping the survey. It's just that we were going to do the survey in a different method. We had actually discussed possibilities of bringing in that marketing outfit that I talked with in Portland that could build us a reusable template that we could screenscape over the time that we could push it out. However, the bigger question is that the best use of that money, seeing where we are today? And I agree with you, John. And I
I think it's
understand
a-
that if it gets released, we'll never get it back, so.
I think maybe it's still a good use of money in the future, depending. We've got a lot to go through with the budget, so I can't
Yep.
but I guess if the money goes away June 30th unless something happens. So I guess that's where I'm at is, getting a definitive answer on can that money be pushed forward? I mean, I guess it can. It's just a matter of putting it in this year's budget, or, does it automatically have to go into the fund balance? Or is there like, well, if you use it by August 31st, you can still use it. And then we wait and see how things are shaping up. And then at that point, we definitely say, okay, no, this is going into the fund balance. It makes no sense to do it. Or yes, it makes sense to follow through with what we had planned to do. So that's, I think there's just some questions around what happens to that money and what is the options for that money come June 30.
Okay, I think Larissa can answer that, right, Larissa?
So you have a couple of choices. You can either allow that money to not be spent this year, and then it will lapse into the fund balance, and it will be part of so the intention that Tom has put forward to you guys to consider is to use any fund balance generated in FY20 to move forward to offset taxation in FY21. So not dipping into the reserves that are there that were built in previous years, but to very purposely say, X number of dollars has been budgeted but not spent in FY20, and we're carrying all of that forward to offset taxation in FY21. So if you choose not to do the survey, not to use that 10,000, then that is what will happen with that money. It will go to offset taxation in FY21. You could, now you have two other paths. If you don't want to use that money this year, but you want to have it available to you next year, we can absolutely do what's called a carry forward, and it will just tag that 10,000 to not fall into the undesignated fund balance, but to instead carry forward into FY21 in its same line waiting to be spent. Or you can have, which I think I'm hearing from Councillor Gleistein, she would like some kind of thought from the other councillors, in the same way that money got put in the budget last year by an amendment by Councillor Katarina, you could allow this year's 10,000 to lapse into the undesignated fund and therefore be carried over to offset taxation in FY21. And while you as councillors are making amendments to the budget at second reading, somebody could do what Councillor Katarina did last year and add $10,000 into the budget. And that would then give your fellow councillors the opportunity to recommit to that use of funds for that purpose by voting for that amendment. And so those are the three paths that I see as options. It may be that there are others, but those are the three that I think those are the cleanest that I see.
Comments? John, you've got one?
Sure. I mean, if we agree on what to do with it, then part of your committee report out to the council. Ken, you could communicate what we agreed to, and then that would both inform the council and give them opportunity to express opposition to that. If we don't agree, then yeah, I think we just go with one of the three options that Larissa, whoever's willing to bring one forward. So I guess are you guys looking to spend the money this fiscal year, or do you not know yet?
I don't know where it fits. I'm just concerned about losing it.
Yeah, I would be looking, I think, for like a carry forward. But like, obviously I got to see the rest of the numbers, but I would be in the carry forward category.
And so we're kind of, I don't think we're in agreement. I'm of the position, we're furloughing staff. We're
Right.
talking about cuts to a lot of staff for next year. To me, this is not a priority relative to any of those. So I
Totally
would-
understood.
Yeah, I understand that too.
Yeah, it's just with our communications, we struggle so much with it. That we really, it's tough to find the priorities. You could probably, and I totally agree, respect what you're saying, John, but there's a lot of things that are gonna fall into that category. And so it's all a matter of figuring out, does this fall into that category or not? Because, I think, BOE, they had some good questions around a lot of things that, would you do this versus would you cut staff, and I think that's going to be the case with a lot of line items. So I would say I'm 75% on carry forward. That would be my desire, but I could definitely see as we go through the next 4 weeks, totally saying, no, forget it. I want every penny. I want the 10 grand. I want to put that in. I'm all for it going into FY21. So that's where I'm at.
So if we do nothing right now, it's just, we've done nothing right now. So is it worth just seeing how things play out and just addressing it again? And making a decision whether to carry it forward or have it drop into the fund balance, right?
I think so.
Okay. In the meantime, I'm still gonna work on some kind of design because it doesn't cost anything and we can implement it when the time is right. We just don't know when that is, so. Now, Larissa, you've made me, I don't know what you've made me, but was there anybody in the public?
Not when I sent it off to you.
I don't see any additional participants.
No, it's just us.
So Ken, do you mind if we wrap up the action items? I just want to make sure that I'm clear. So I had that you were going to reach out to the BOE, or did we just scrap that in terms of a joint AMA? We're just pretty much
Scrap that.
making a unilateral
Council,
decision.
yeah. Council only, correct?
Okay, so that's council only.
Council plus Tom.
Council plus Tom. So you're going to reach out about the 20th, May 20th, to find out what that format looks like and to express the desire that we want to include like a Q&A
Yes,
session in the 20th. Okay.
yes.
And then we were looking at
The 10th,
June 10th.
yep,
Right, as a kind of a AMA/Q&A exact format to be determined, but are the chair and the co-chair open for that
correct. That would be after the public hearing.
after the public hearing, right? And then we were going to get the access to the new website so the communications committee can take a look at it.
Yes,
And it's not for the purpose of making suggestions, but for the
No.
purpose of us evaluating if it looks like a promising avenue forward, or that we may want to recommend a different avenue.
correct. Those are the 3 items. Now, Larissa, I don't want to put you on the spot. You might have to talk to a few people. We can do that. I sense you said we could be doing that. In time frame, have any idea? Not a pressure, you don't have to give me a date. Just want to know,
So-
it's May, are we talking May, we talking June?
You mean to have access to the link to look at it?
Yes,
That's a very easy lift. I want to tread very lightly here, and I want you to hear that I'm using very soft little steps as I go there.
Yeah.
I offer up and am happy to have your feedback on the website as it stands. I am not sure about the recommendation to abandon ship on that website. That, like, so what I think, what I first understood was that this was an opportunity to replace our focus group activity by having you guys look at it, see where there might be glitches, see some places that might need to be corrected. What I think I just heard was, let's look at it and decide if we want to continue on this path or if we think we should redirect to a new path. Those are very different things.
That is, and that was comments from one counselor
Okay,
who has every right to make that comment.
agreed.
I'm
I,
looking
that's why I
at
said
it,
I'm stepping
right.
carefully.
Yeah,
stepping-
I'm sorry. I picked up on that from what John said. We don't know exactly what if we picked the right path, because we haven't seen it. So I picked up on the path. And then something you said, Ken, about the way you framed it about us looking at, how viable it looks or something.
Right. Well, I don't have real high expectations, to tell you the truth, because I know what we've got. I know what improvements have been asked. We did have a cursory look at the new. I'm not looking at a super robust website. I'm looking at a functional one, and that should be evident that it is there, close to there, or nowhere near. If it's nowhere near, then we're going to have another conversation. But that's not the intent. That's not the purpose. I would like to see the look and feel.
We're looking to kick the tires.
Yeah, just kick the tires.
I don't have a ton of time right now, but I think we're looking to play and help to visualize what's coming. And
That's right.
but we can queue up our feedback, but we understand that you're not going to be ready to receive
That's
it
right.
in the near term.
That's right.
I'm a big fan of managing expectations and making sure that we are all understanding the intent, because one of my jobs is to not expose our staff to, I don't know the word I want to use. What I don't want to have happen is a public dismissal of 6 months worth
Correct.
of work. Like that
Correct.
is because I think that what we have asked somebody to do is using absolutely free, a totally free platform designed for us and make functional for us a website for the town.
Right.
And so I just want to be really respectful of the fact that that is what this person has done, and that is what this is. It's a free platform for us to use because we've never budgeted money for something else. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to get you that link. I'm happy to have you guys go in there. There are still some changes to be made, and we know that, and certainly want to get that feedback from you. But just know that it is not to where we would have had it to release it to focus groups. It's
Correct.
really close, but it's not there.
Yeah,
So
we understand that. And the
Yeah.
feedback will only come to you. I think we can all agree. Any feedback goes to Larissa only. Can we agree to that? Because you are the focus point or the director of the changes. I'm not going to reach out to the IT guy and say, hey, I don't like what I'm seeing. That's
Right.
not what our intent is. Matter of fact, if I know you would design some kind of feedback form.
Yep.
If that's ready, you can present that also. If it's not, we understand.
it's not, but I'm happy to make one for you. But I also think that if you guys just want to record through, like what I've been doing every time I've gone into the draft is I just have a legal pad, and each
Yeah.
time I stumble across something that's a broken link or that
Right.
doesn't feel intuitive to me, I make a note, and then Brian and I sit down and I walk through my notes with him,
Right.
and he makes those changes accordingly.
Keep in mind, we all do this somewhat for a living, so we understand. And I'll tell you, I've been part of a lot of bad software rollouts. So, he who cast the first stone.
Right. Yeah. I don't feel like I'm saying anything any different from anybody else. So I totally agree with what's been said here. If I didn't state it in a way that people understood, that's always on me. But there was one more follow-up, I think, from today, which is that the budget portal definitely needs some work. It's not very user-friendly right now. The items are kind of all over the place. So if maybe some feedback could come about the budget portal, or maybe somebody in the office that doesn't normally use the budget portal could take a look at it and say, oh boy, I don't, this is a little bit confusing. But I think that was also a to-do, that the budget portal is going to get cleaned up a little bit.
Absolutely, Betsy. So I'm looking at my calendar for tomorrow. I am meeting with Brian at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. I have So I will sit with him, walk through. Budget portal will be my priority. But as well as learning how to make the changes, I think that's my priority. Tomorrow's priority is me learning how to actually go in and make changes on our
Yeah.
website, so that then I'm salaried. You guys get to work me 100 hours a week and I don't get to complain. So we just need to reallocate the workflow. And so I need to be able to at the moment, I can't make any changes to our website in any way. And so I need to be able to do that so that I can get in there. I agree, there are lots of things that need to happen on the budget portal. I'm going to try to get those done tomorrow. But certainly by Wednesday, you should expect for those immediate changes to be made. Things like, see below for the calendar, as well as getting the calendar fully up to date and having a single location for additional materials related to this budget discussion, as well as trying to find a way to connect any presentations that were part of a meeting to the part of the budget portal that shows you the agenda, the meeting, and the video. So I think that those are doable things. It's just a question of if I have the mental capacity to learn how to do those things, or if Brian has the calendar capacity to do them instead.
Right.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, no public comment. Item number 9, future agenda items. I know it's hard to focus. We have just so much going on. If you can't think of any future agenda items, again, I think I've been in a habit of pushing out to you folks, the other committee members. This is what I'm thinking you want to add on to it. We can stay with that approach, or you can something pops up, feed it to me, and I'll have a discussion with Larissa between now and the next meeting. Agreed?
Sounds good.
So I'm just wondering if, and maybe maybe nobody has the bandwidth, so it's okay, but I wondered if maybe, and staff doesn't have to attend, if the 3 of us could be interested in like a 1-hour workshop. So Ken, you've done some research on the postcard, so maybe we could share that more in depth. I've got a couple of different ones that I could also share with you guys, and some tools I've looked at, just so that instead of just kind of talking about it in a broad term, we could talk about it in really specific terms. And like you say, we might not be able to do anything with it, but who knows, it might come in handy for something else. So if you guys are open for it, I'd keep it to an hour, but I would be open for looking at some of those tools for how we could do the postcard Be Informed campaign, even if we don't end up doing it.
Right. I don't think it'd be wasted time. Okay. Just what are the mechanics of that? Because you have 3 counselors, we can't get together. We have to have staff. Is that not correct?
I personally
It's at least got to be recorded and live.
Recorded and live. I mean, and then we can share screens. I think Zoom is, a good format for that. You'd probably want to be the host, or John or me. I don't do Zoom. I use GoToMeeting, so I'm not the best Zoom host, but staff would certainly be invited, but it would just be kind of bringing up a screen and saying, well, here's this design tool. This is what the every door mail looks like. Just sharing some things that, maybe you'll have a spreadsheet with what they promised and all that stuff. So I don't know, that's what I'm
What do you
thinking.
think, John?
So I think work through an agenda for a potential workshop, and maybe toss out a couple of potential dates. And I don't think there's anything precluding us from doing that.
Okay.
And staff would be happy to get the meeting set up as a webinar, get it running live on YouTube, and sit in the background quietly.
Okay. So Councilor Weinstein, if you don't mind, since I failed the first attempt on that, do you want to run with that one?
Sure.
Thank you.
You didn't fail, but
Oh, and one other small item, and I hope this doesn't upset anybody. I really cannot do before 5 p.m. meetings anymore. My job security is on the line. Very unfortunate, but I have to do 5 or later. Okay.
That's not a problem for me. Just incorporate it into the next meeting. And
Okay.
is staff able to meet at 5?
Staff is here to be as helpful as possible at whatever hour you ask.
And she says that with a smile on her face.
Really, what else is there to be done?
I wish I could learn to do that.
Unfortunately, I mean, I always wonder when people go into municipal government, did they realize all the night hours involved? Because it's,
Fortunately, I worked as a server for many, many, many years prior to going into municipal government. So anytime I'm out before 1 a.m., it's a good night.
yeah, the number of meetings, I mean, the night hours are, because actually the Zoom stuff, we've done more day stuff than we even normally do. So, it's kind of because people have been on this quarantine thing, but yeah. No, it's fine with me, Ken. I'm either
Okay.
way, totally flexible.
Now, Larissa, how do we turn all this live YouTube off now? Can you still do that, not being the presenter?
I cannot.
That's what I
So
think.
you're going to go to the top. Do you have something at the top of your screen, Ken, that says live on YouTube?
Yes,
When you click on that drop down arrow, do you have something that lets you stop that?
okay. Oh,
Should we motion? to adjourn?
stop live stream, yes.
Wait, we have to
We
adjourn.
need to adjourn first. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Tracy, please.
Counselor Gladstein,
yes.
Counselor Pucci,
Yes.
Counselor Johnson.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.